Hello and welcome to this episode of Defenders of the Vale. That's right, we are not doing an episode of the actual canonical adventure. Instead, we're going to kind of take a peek behind the veil, if you will, and do a little roundtable talk about episodes 1 through 5. So tonight with me I have Lewis.
Hello.
And Rick is here.
Hello, all.
And Saul is also here tonight.
Hi.
So this is going to be us, the four amigos, I suppose, as it were. And yeah. So here, how about we come out of the theme and then switch it over to a different screen. Okay, we should be good to go. Let's find some audio to kind of go in here just to give us some background noise. So while I'm doing that, what's everybody's... How about we talk a little bit maybe just sort of about our characters, sort of maybe what inspired them. I know it's been like 2 years since Campaign 2 was proposed, and I know that I went through some changes with my character ideas during that time, so I don't know if somebody wants to kind of start, just break down. Don't go into your backgrounds, obviously. Don't reveal anything that hasn't already been revealed, but yeah, just talk a little bit about your character, please.
I'm going to go with Izzy. And hello, Toasty Cat. How are you doing? I love the taste of cat. No. I love to say hi to cat. That's what I'm supposed to say. Yes.
Hi, Cat.
Let's see. Let's see here. I've always liked kobolds. I always wanted to play one. Never really got the opportunity. So whenever we were coming up with ideas, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to do a kobold. And then whenever I found out that my daughter, whenever I come up with it, was just slightly shorter than a kobold, I was like, okay, that's what I thought. And now my 4-year-old is actually taller than my kobold. So, yeah, she really enjoys the fact that I'm playing somebody shorter than her. She finds it funny. But, yeah, I like playing rogues, and whenever the rogues came up as, or when that position came up as that nobody was playing, when I'm like, okay, I'll jump into that position. And yeah, then I like doing different quirks, and so I have my not bagpipes, my pan flute that I play. Well, I don't play. I make noise with it, especially as we heard on the one episode where I rolled so well that I was playing it backwards or something. Yeah. But yeah, it's just something I really wanted to do. The color I chose has some significance, which will show out in the campaign. I don't want to give too much away with it. My art design was done by Joe Wren from season 1. He was nice enough to draw my character. I had him planned for so long, had this whole thing planned, and then I'm like, okay, campaign 1's not going to end. Okay, campaign 1's not going to end. And then other people were going, oh, I'm going to do this instead. And I'm like, but, but, but I like mine. But I want to do something different too. But I didn't. I stayed with my original.
Well, I can't reveal too much about Aramolian, but I can say that there were some things that I thoroughly enjoyed about Campaign 1. The Elven Order of Herbs and Spices, and Thenelius's friendship with Basil. You know, bunch of things that I found pretty enjoyable. So I wanted to work something into the second season. So for now, my character is just a acolyte. He's worshiping and following the dictates of the great sage, and we'll kind of see where that leads.
Cat's favorite person to hate? Wally.
What the heck? Yeah, I mean, just before I say anything about my guy, I know a little bit about Lewis's character that I think is really exciting, so I'm looking forward to everyone to hear that. And I myself am looking forward to finding out what is going on with Aramolian. So I feel like this campaign has a lot of, like, I don't know, exciting secrets in store. Because I remember when I made Basil, I didn't know any of the people that I was going to be playing with bar one. So I made a character that was like, there was not really a lot going on, and more about Basil sort of evolved as we went on. I'm pretty sure the only thing I made about Basil was the fact that he had a pun in his name. And so did his master, and that's it. But for Wally, he's like, I really like Rangers, but originally Wally was going to be an artificer. And then I think there was like a point where someone else wanted to play an artificer, and I was already playing multiple artificers in other games, because, you know, it was a while ago that I started playing the character. So I switched him to a ranger, and like I said, I really love rangers. I think they're super underrated, and like they get a lot of hate. Like my favorite classes are wizards and artificers together. Wizards because I like the aesthetic, and I personally think they're the best class. Artificers because, again, I like the aesthetic even if they're not super powerful. But rangers have, like, I don't know what it is about them. I just find them really cool. They're just cool. And I can't really explain it, other than I really like their spell list. Especially once they got some extra fun stuff from Tasha's and all that. I don't know, I just really like them. I think they're really cool. And Wally he's the one thing I don't like about Rangers is some of the sort of expected fantasy. So Wally is kind of not a reversal or anything, but he's a bit of a different version of a ranger. You know, he's more of like a researcher who is still sort of very interested in nature and stuff, but it's more from a scientific like approach. He doesn't have the highest intelligence in the world, but it's, you know, it's pretty good for a ranger. I think it's the same as his wisdom. And yeah, I don't remember what it was specifically that made me want to play kind of an asshole on C2, but I think it's because Basil was so like chill. Well, not chill, nice. And I normally play characters that are kind of rude or crass or like impatient. I was like, I'm gonna go back to my roots for Wally, and that's really fun. And like I said, it's easier to do when you know the people you're playing with. Yeah, Wally is like he's a lot more. What's the word? He already has, his backstory and stuff figured out, and it's less. I don't know how important it's going to be. I haven't really talked to Ricky about that, but there's a lot going on in his backstory, but it's not super relevant to this continent. But it does sort of, I think, like a lot of other people's in C2, it does sort of rely on the quote-unquote canon of this world in a way that I think is kind of fun. So I'm interested to see what Ricky has in store for that, and yeah, I hope people like Wally, even though he's really crass and rude, and maybe has a bit of a superiority complex or something. Yeah, he's really fun to play, and I think Rangers are really good, and I hope I could show that Rangers are really good.
One thing I like about this whole thing is, we as players have created so much canon in Ricky's world. Sometimes he's okay with it. Sometimes he fights it tooth and nail. But, whenever we were messing around and everything, and somebody said we're talking about the spices, and I accidentally typed in elven herbs and spices instead of 11. Then ever since then,
Was that an accident?
It was complete accident.
I didn't know that was an accident.
It was a misspell that was so awesome that we all went with it.
That's perfect. I didn't know that was an accident. That's amazing.
It was one of the best accidents of the entire campaign.
True. It was so funny.
And he fought it tooth and nail. And finally, after he said it multiple times, like, all right, it's canon.
Yeah. I do love that name. I was just gonna say I love that name. It's really funny to me. E. No, it's the name of the order. Oh, that's true. Yeah. I mean, I use the Tasha's optional features because, I mean, I mostly agree with the consensus that the level 1 features otherwise aren't great, but I guess I don't really rate the class off of its bad features. Even if I had to use those, I think I'd still like Ranger a lot. I just like halfcasters. It's fun. Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah. I think that's Everon. Oh, wait, Ron, are you coming through on the stream?
I had the wrong thing clicked. Sorry.
I think we're good now.
Yeah, it should be good. So, yeah, okay. So, like I was saying, Paige wasn't my original character for Campaign 2. I had a different thing in mind, but I'm not going to talk about it in case I use it later. Paige is a Mark of Hospitality halfling, which I think we decided was from Eberron.
Yes, because my race is also a Mark one, and I'm pretty sure it's Eberron.
Okay, so and that stuck out to me because I've been listening to a lot of NADPod, Not Another D&D podcast, and their first season, Emily Axford's character she wasn't like a Mark of Hospitality halfling, but she was a crick elf, which was the equivalent of wood elf, I think. But like, hospitality was their big deal. So like when I saw that and thought about that, I'm like, you know what, that could be a fun thing to play with. But I think I might have already misplayed Paige, especially with being reunited with Cletus.
Well, no, that's how people with the accent show hospitality.
Okay.
That's just very friendly conversation.
But yeah, so aside from that, and I decided to go with a bard, but I didn't want to be the traditional like musician bard or even, well, I guess, I definitely didn't want it to be the horny bard type.
The classic.
Yeah, the classic bard, if you will.
Yeah, that's Rick's character's thing. You know, he's an he's one of those horny alkalites.
No, that's the worst kind.
But so I decided to be a storyteller, but not like, you know, take it up a notch from the word of mouth storyteller and just be a full blown author instead.
Yeah.
So like Paige's whole deal right now is he's supposed to be out promoting his book that he just got published, all the while getting ideas for his next novel. So he's kind of, this is where we are now is not where Paige thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not where Izzy thought he was going to be. One thing that, you know, what we did in Campaign 1 opened up a lot of the possibilities of what we could be in Campaign 2.
That's true.
Well, Syrup's eating some dinner.
Hey, Sarah.
And I do have to say, I like how certain parts of Campaign 1 are already affecting Campaign 2. Like, you know, David's not here to talk about his character, but I like how, you know, there's a direct connection, and I don't think David knew this was going to be a thing, but there's a direct connection back to Ravine becoming a Lich back in episode 95, I believe, of Campaign 1. And I had that segment all queued up, ready to go, if Ricky would have wanted it played, but I did add it on the end of episode 4 for the podcast as a little bonus.
Oh, I was like, yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, and like Aramolian, you have maybe not direct links to Campaign 1, but there's definitely some crossover there, or at least that's sort of what I'm picking up. But that's nice. The only thing that I like, I don't want to say sad about, but it's looks like we're gonna be right back in the thick of things in Centervale again, which should be interesting now that it's like, what, 1,000 years later, so it, you know, it
I think so.
potentially be a metropolis. But if So if you listen to the last episode of Campaign 1, episode 114, at the very end, Ricky did a little bit of foreshadowing for Campaign 2, which, well, let's see. If you haven't listened to it yet, spoiler alert, but at the very end, he alludes to slaves in a mine between Centervale and down here. Like all of our hard work after 1,000 years was put to waste, put to ruin. I'm just gonna be upset if we're in that mine right now. But I'm sure that's where we are.
I'm pretty sure that's probably where we're at.
I don't see the connection. I don't. It's just my summer job, guys.
Oh, but I mean, even we can bring up the total map.
Yeah.
I like, Centervale is clearly marked on there. Rolling Swamp. Oh, the thing, hang on. There we go. Yeah, I didn't have. So I can see it better. Dragon Tier Islands, is that it?
Lakes.
Lakes, right. But I'm curious.
Oh.
I'm curious
And
to.
We
Alright.
have the upside down pyramid, home of Gravine and the School of Magics.
Oh, you know what? That never even occurred to me. I didn't think that was that far out from Centervale.
I didn't think so either.
Oh, wait, they took it out of the ground, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
it's-
It moves now.
It floats in the air, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you gotta wonder if that's still floating around, too. That'd be interesting.
Hmm.
What I'm curious, though, is because I don't know how in-depth the rest of you guys went with your background for your character, but, like, I created a whole little region for Paige, and I'm curious to see how Ricky fits that in on this map.
I want to say, I don't know if it'll work, but I'm trying to force Ricky to do an accent by making my character have an accent and be from a different part of the world that's come over here. I hope he feels the need to do the accent that I do if we ever meet any characters from my backstory. I don't know if he will. I think he might weasel out of it. But I think it would be funny. Because I don't mind saying, Wally isn't from this continent. I think he's mentioned that. I don't remember. He's from a different place that I think I named it, but I think the name is something like Farmoria? Maybe? I'd have to check my notes, but I don't know where they are. Whatever. Wally, he's not from this continent, and the group that he's with isn't from this continent. They're just sort of like new here. Like the Vale is kind of like a new world for them, in the very Christopher Columbus sort of definition of a new world. And he's sort of over here, with his faction, I suppose. And I didn't do very much writing about what their home place was like, but I did do a lot of writing about what the faction itself is like, and I think it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to see if it comes up. But I did want it to be that, Wally is sort of connected kind of to the old campaign, but he is definitely a new character from, a new region. He's not just like, what's the word? He's not like a relic of the old world. He's definitely a part of this new 1,000 year later world. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that was the case when I was writing him up.
Yeah, and to circle back too on what you were saying before with when you made Basil versus Wally, I was the same way with Roland. Roland was a safe character.
Yeah.
And I feel like now, that we've been playing together for as long as we have, we can definitely get out of that.
Just get weird.
Yep, just get weird. Oh, that calls for some emotes. If you're subscribed to Darling Creep Show, you've got Get Weird.
Oh. Oh. Wait. Where is it?
Oh yeah, getting weird. But you know, looking at this map though, like the area I described for Paige's hometown could actually fit in the Dragon Tier Lakes region. You know, because I described it's an area that it's basically around like a Great Lake, if you and you know it's just a whole like circuit of small villages that surround the lake. You know, but I mean it's a huge lake, so it's not like you can just go town to town. But like, you know, it was to kind of create like a nice little region there. But hopefully, like, we'll get to see some more of the nuances that I set up for Paige, because he could be a real fun character.
Hell yeah.
There's a lot of fun with all of our characters, I'm pretty sure. And with the way Ricky runs things, you know, I've been in so many campaigns where you come up with a character and none of his backstory is ever, you know, is even mentioned. Nothing. You go through the whole thing and nothing is mentioned about any part of your background, any part of anything. And that's one thing I liked about campaign 1. You know, he went through and made sure he went into the backstory of each player and really made it about them, you know, and then us as a whole.
Yeah, like when he did that with Reagan for Roland. So Reagan was Roland's twin sister. You know, I had several different things in Roland's background that he could have played off of, but that's what he decided to go with. But you know, I'm just glad that he did go off of something that I had put in there. So that was rewarding.
Yeah, so now we put in all this crazy stuff in our backstory in hopes that that craziness shows up in our game.
Well, mine's not too crazy.
Can't wait.
That's what you think.
Mine is El Loco, but you know, I'm happy. Toasty, before we get into the other stuff, do you have any questions for us?
You beat me to it.
She's here almost every episode. Figured, hey, if she has something to ask.
Yeah, almost every stream. Like, is there anything you're curious about any of our characters? Is there anything about campaign 1 that you might that we might be able to answer for you?
Yay, we talked to her and then her mind went, what? What's my name?
Yeah.
Where am I?
I'm known as the Vale Historian, but I'm not the Lore Keeper. That allows me room for error. Because, you know, historians don't always get it right. History is written by the victors.
Well, who won?
You know, at one time somebody, and then after that somebody else.
And I have to be careful
True.
before I start quoting Hamilton.
Favorite NPC from the first campaign?
I like a lot of the NPCs. Who's my favorite?
Yeah, let me think on that a sec.
Well, I mean, we all know Ron's is probably,
No, it isn't.
Ron.
It is not. Worst NPC ever.
No.
What the heck? I really like the silly
I kid.
Nordak. Nordak was fun. I think that was his name.
Nordak
Nordak
is
is
silly.
silly.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was fun making Ricky talk fast.
Yeah, it's fun. You know what? I did like Ron a lot. He's really fun. Breck, I mean, role playing Scandal with Breck was really fun. I had a really good time doing that.
I like.
Yeah, I think those are my favorites.
I love the teasing that we did with Matilda and Ren. That was fun.
He was a good sport about it.
That's what I was gonna say too.
That was pretty good. There's a lot of great NPCs.
Yeah, I'm going and looking on the website.
I know there's a lot on there. And right now, I'm a little curious. Is Cletus Ron the monk? Or are they related somehow? Because they have the same similar accent.
I think that's only because Ricky has like.
He just loves the accent.
Yeah,
It is very fun to do.
He's only got so much he can do.
I know, but I mean, he's not here, so let's go and make it canon.
I mean, historically, I guess that might not actually even be Cletus's real accent, right?
Might not be, but we could say, because he's not here, we could say that Cletus and Ron the monk got married.
Oh, and they have the same date of birth.
We could make any kind of canon we want to without him here.
I get Loki vibes from Cletus.
Yeah.
I think. Wait, hang on.
And
Okay.
if Kat can make some canon for us, we can make sure we can definitely get a push for him.
So,
Yeah.
I think my favorite NPC from Campaign 1 would probably be. Oh, crap. I just looked at her name. Belethiel Silwyn. Fenilius's mom.
Oh yeah, Belethiel was great.
That was fun, the way Ricky portrayed her. That was fun for me to play.
You guys both did really good with that.
I liked Springwater. My favorite one to
yeah.
hate was Abel. I didn't like him when we were first introduced, and I never liked him through the whole thing. Even though Fenilius ended up working with him, me, I didn't like him at all.
I like Table, but it was sassy.
Yeah,
Well, that's why you liked him.
well, it's like you never really knew until like much later, like where he stood. So he was always a question mark.
He's a bit of a weirdo. I like weirdos.
That's why we get along so well, so.
Hell yeah.
Because I'm a weirdo.
We like weirdos here.
So, the very first episode was Paige's episode.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts there, Ron, whenever you started going on with that?
So, like, my first thought was, well, shit, how did I get on this island? Because I'm supposed to be back home trying to promote my book. So I was like, okay, well, alright, I'm here, let's do this. And, you know, I enjoyed the, like, the playthrough. I wish I could have been able to, like, kind of show off Paige a little bit more in the thing, since it is supposed to be, like, his intro thing, you know. I ended up using all my spell slots to keep myself from dying, so I didn't really get to do anything with that, but...
Well, you did the most important part. You made it to episode 2. Or episode 5, but still episode 2.
Yeah. But, you know, I enjoy going through the... There was like a random dungeon too that we had, so that, you know, it's nice not knowing exactly where you're going to be ending up. But like, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't really reveal too much about Paige either, so like, you know, there's still lots to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to doing all that.
Yeah.
Like, episode 2 was introducing Izzy and Wallace, and yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that, Saul and Lewis?
I mean, I figured it like, yeah, it kind of worked because like I know a little bit about Lewis. I don't. Wally doesn't know, but it does make sense, especially with like some of the questions that we asked Cletus and the answers that he gave. It ended up being like really appropriate, and we sort of see that down the line, I think. But I enjoyed it. I liked that a lot. I don't know, I feel pretty happy with how ours went. It felt more like introducing the characters' personalities than specifically like what they're about. That's what it felt like to me. But maybe that's just because I had Izzy there to bully. Sort of getting people used to new characters.
No, actually,
yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think that actually describes Paige's experience perfectly. Got to introduce like his personality a bit, but you know,
yeah,
still left him mostly a mystery.
Yeah, exactly.
You see, and that's why Izzy and Wallace get along so well. Izzy has no idea that you're giving him shade and that you're giving attitude. He has no clue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Wally's like, he can be a bit difficult to get along with, but he's not like actually ill-willed. He's just an asshole. You know, it's funny to him. So that works well. I think definitely.
Izzy loves being Izzy.
Hell yeah.
Start off with, hanging out on the island, going to and stuff, and then we see this crazy guy with fish.
We get a ratatouille.
Oh, yes.
No,
I almost forgot about that until just now.
I forgot about that part. That was so great.
Now, because of our lovely rolls, anytime we make any kind of food with spiders, we get special abilities.
Oh god, but I don't know if I want to eat spider food.
I 100% know I want to eat my spider food and your spider food.
That has to be in the most dire of circumstances that we turn to the
You mean
dark side.
the dire circumstances like today, tomorrow,
Now we're fine.
yesterday,
Now we're okay.
lunch,
You
breakfast,
ever
dinner?
survived a mining colony, Trent, before? It's a classic. We'll be fine.
I mean,
Have faith. I have my
Spiders
bow.
made very well. It
I
tastes
just
really
realized I have a
yummy.
lot of ammo left.
Yeah.
You will eat the spider food.
I will tell you, I am looking forward to when episode 6 does get underway, and that really see what we can do as a group.
Our first fight. What if we just die? What if we all die? Well then,
It'd be poetic.
it'd be kind of funny, yeah.
Very.
Episode 3 was Aramolian's episode. Rick, do you have any thoughts about how that played out?
I was a little terrifying, to be honest. I warned Ricky. I call Aramolian an acolyte, and that's pretty accurate. I don't really have. I warned him. Said there's not much. I have a dagger. And I can use that. I think I have a club or staff. I'm not sure I even have a ranged weapon. Maybe I have a short bow. I have no offensive spells or defensive spells. I rely entirely on the will of the great sage to protect me. So I was afraid. They did. He's never let me down. Yeah.
And I love how that all worked out too. You relying completely on him, and then your role. See, look,
Yep.
the great sage loves me, or the great sage does not want me to do this. So that's obviously why I failed.
I really like Aramolian.
We'll see if you guys keep liking him. You're talking about the first combat. I'm concerned about the first combat.
Are you worried? What's there to worry about?
Aramolian is not an adventurer. I've got a mission, and adventuring is not it.
Well, unless the Great Sage says it is.
Yeah. Yep. If he says it is, I guess he will make it possible for me to contribute.
And
I'll make a
everything,
religion charisma check.
and everything's a ranged weapon if you could pick it up and toss it.
Is he count?
Hey, that's one thing that I really miss out of this campaign. Having a barbarian around.
True.
I was so hoping to have some kind of barbarian around that could throw me around into combat.
Oh, yeah.
I will make a deal with you.
Oh.
The next campaign, let's play. I don't care which one of us does which, but one of us should play a very small character who's a barbarian and gets thrown by a very large character that can be whatever class, maybe another barbarian. I don't know. But one of us will launch the other one into combat, and that's how we'll start every fight.
That would be amazing.
Perfect.
Or if we both die in this one, maybe that can be our backup plan.
I unfortunately have a backup plan for this campaign.
All right, next campaign then.
Yes.
I actually haven't thought about a backup character for Wallace. I mean, he's pretty different from what he was gonna be, so I guess I could do something like that. But I'll probably just pick like another character from his faction for the sake of. Well, they're already there.
I have a list of things that I want to play, that I want to try.
Mhm.
So I just pick something from my list. By the way,
Throw a dart.
this character was not on my list.
Oh,
Ooh.
something changed.
So,
It did. I had a epiphany of sorts.
came to you in a dream.
So I have a backup character in mind for this campaign, and it is not the one that I originally, was going to do for this campaign. I'm not sure of the class yet, but I know it's going to be what I think is probably one of the most underrepresented races at our table. It's going to be a dwarf.
Oh.
We haven't had
I don't play with a
dwarf.
lot of dwarf players.
Yeah, we haven't had a dwarf PC in our campaign campaign 1 at all.
Well, looks like we're gonna have to kill Paige so we can see this dwarf. Rip Paige.
Oh boy.
Oh, ripped Paige. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, there's gonna be lots of book puns.
Yeah! Book puns.
Yeah, and I never got the whole page thing until I made that one comment about being a real page turner, and then I'm like, wait a second.
It's great.
Yep.
Then episode 4 was David, so we can't really. Well, I mean, we could put our 2 cents in.
Enjoyed that though.
So
It was a fun one to watch.
again,
It's very chill.
I love
Weirdly.
how that one tied in directly into Gry's transformation.
Especially since I think we can be pretty certain that Gravine is important to the plot of this one because there's that mural which Gravine featured pretty heavily in.
Well, you drew it.
Well, yeah, yes, with my hands.
Well, and not to mention, it's kind of like David's character, Robert, is only here because Gravine, recognized him right at the very end or something like that.
And he's basically a real life civilian turned
He's a cultist.
adventurer.
I don't know if he counts as a civilian. Because he was straight up just a part of that cult, right?
He was the bookkeeper in the cult. And
feel like
doing
he'd still
different
have the
things
cultist
with that,
outlook.
and basically was wanting to learn stuff because he lost his wife. That's that's very cool backstory to get into this whole little thing. I love that whole
kind of
idea
unlucky
once
that
I
he
heard
gets
it.
the death with his wife. He's still dead. Ripped to his wife.
That's true, he failed.
Yep. L. He tried his best. Well, he tried. I don't know why I felt the immense need to bully Rob, but I just knew what I had to do.
You bully everybody. What are you talking about?
It's true. He'd go extra hard on the dead guy, though. And of all people, he needed it the least.
Right, he's already dead.
Yeah. Well, that's how I know he can take it. He'll live.
Yeah, meeting everybody on episode 5, was, Izzy and Wallace had a little bit of an advantage, knowing each other ahead of time. But then meeting all these other people inside there.
These weirdos.
Yes.
Everyone in this party is a little bit weird.
Well, of course.
I feel like our last characters were definitely a lot more I don't want to say normal, but because we're still adventurous, but definitely less weird. There was less weirdness, for sure. For sure.
And my guy was very smart.
True. Very smart. Alex is great.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Aramolian is about as normal, as common as it gets.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I got some theories about Ermoli, but I'm not going to get into it here.
Deep fried McFairies.
Some deep fried McTheories.
I do too, but honestly, I'm more excited to just see like what happens.
Yeah.
I've always been really bad at theorizing. I'm always just like completely wrong.
You know, and here I am going, okay, I'm a rogue. I'm going to break out of these shackles. You know, I'm going to do this, and then found out afterwards, you know, they're magical shackles I couldn't have broken out of. That's why I couldn't make my roll. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I should be able to break my thumb and get my finger out of that.
Wait, you're snapping your thumb. You don't need that.
I mean, just snap it back in afterwards.
I don't know.
People do it on TV all the time.
Well, there's no TVs here. This is, you know, medieval times, kind of. Unless TVs have been invented.
Well, in a way they have. Minor illusion.
But were you paying wizards to come into your house and minor illusion you an entire show?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I just came up with another character idea.
A minor illusion salesman?
Well, I keep on doing that. I keep on holding down the mic whenever I need to talk.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. It's like a habit.
But yeah, somebody who goes around and does minor illusions for money, you know, makes all these different, you know, maybe a bard or something. I don't know. I'll have to think that more of it. But yeah.
You know, and that's something else too. You know, it is 1,000 years future from where campaign 1 was. You would think there may be some technological advances.
I feel like in D&D, technology doesn't advance very much because of magic. So like everyone doesn't, you know. I feel like it like limits the populace's imagination, kind of. That's always been how I felt about it.
Yeah, and I guess it really depends on the campaign setting too. But
yeah,
I think, you know, I mean, something else alluded to it previously, but I think, you know, this gives Ricky a chance to bring Spelljammer elements into the campaign.
or spellements even.
The Spellements. But yeah, it could be, like, you know, off-world travel.
I mean, even other plane travels now that, you know, we've opened up the Fey realm and the other realms.
Oh yeah,
and
true.
are not blocked off.
Yeah, very true, very true. Very true. It'll be interesting.
It's just, you know, that whole thing only, it upset me slightly, and that's only because, like, Roland had the spell plane shift prepared, like, ever since he was able to cast it. I mean, he never needed it, so it never came up in game where I would try to cast it and then he would tell me no. But but it's like, after the fact, it's like, shit, I couldn't even use this spell. It's been here the whole time. The whole time. But
Oh, so it kind of worked out then.
Well, that just brings up our Sunday night game. Here we are in Dungeon of the Mad Mage,
Dungeon of the Mad Lad.
and you cannot teleport in or out of this dungeon. So what do I do? Like 3 episodes in a row? I cast Banishment. Guess what? Banishment does not work. So I waste a spell.
No.
I did it multiple times, and then I forget because it's, you know, a week later, and then I do it
Yeah.
again, and I'm like,
It's so easy to forget.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get that bad person out of the way so I can take care of these other guys.
Nope.
Forgetting is the reason that Fenilius wrote a journal.
True.
It was so I, as the player, could read Fenilius's journal and remind myself what was going on. I'm going to miss that this campaign because I'm not doing it again.
Is Aramolian not the writing type?
Nope. No, he's the reading type, not the writing type.
I see. Interesting. Yeah. I'm taking notes with Wally. I haven't decided if I'm gonna try and make them in character or not yet. I just kind of wrote them last session. It would kind of make sense because he's a researcher, but
well, the person who would make the most sense to write a book or a journal or something would be the author.
Very true.
Yeah, Aramolian is looking forward to reading that book.
Make sure you spell the Great Sage's name right.
We shall see.
I'm excited because I do like low-level starts of campaigns a lot, actually. Even as someone that plays characters with D8, D6 hit die a lot, I really like level 1, level 2. That's like being a weak little noodle. I don't like dying, but I like being a weak little noodle. So, it's a balance.
Yeah, I'm more the favorite. I like the 4 through 6, 4 through 7, where I'm still new, but I'm not going to die if you sneeze on me.
I like being able to get to your subclass level, whatever level that is. Level 1 for some, level 2 or 3 for the other ones.
Yeah, same. And then you can really start branching out and adding in the flavor.
Yeah.
Mine's level 3 and can't wait.
All right, hey.
I don't know how commoners level up, so I'm not sure what that will mean for me.
Yeah, that's.
I've actually played a level 0 character before. It's really fun. It's terrifying, but it's really fun. Enjoyed it greatly.
Alright, so you guys want to take a short little break here, and then when we come back, we can see if anybody in the chat has any other questions for us?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that gives them time to think, too.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Time to think, Toasty, time to think.
And time's running out.
Oh. Okay, we are back. Thank you for coming back, joining us, rejoining us for this episode of Defenders of the Vale. This is a recap, sort of review episode where we go over episodes 1 through 5 of Campaign 2. And yeah, just coming back from break. How's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Me too.
And unfortunately, Saul had to step away for a moment, but he will be back ASAP. Before we went to break, we asked the chat if they had any questions for us. And so I'll give you a minute because of lag if you were waiting. Otherwise, we can begin to speculate ourselves. So yeah, as I mentioned before, I think that we are in that slave pit mine that was foreshadowed between Centervale and down here. Sorry, my cat decided to join the stream and make a lot of noise in the background.
Ooh, Cat's got a question. I can't wait to see what down here looks like now.
Yeah, hit us up with your question.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
I believe it's 3.
A 1, a 2, a 3. Crunch.
I mean, it's never taken me more than 3.
I mean, look at the owl, man. He's smart. He can't get past 3.
Boy. But yeah, Toasty, hit us up with your question.
She's typing. It's a long one.
Okay. So, Toasty Cat asks, what do each of your characters from both campaigns like to eat for breakfast? Also, what do you yourselves like to eat? LOL, kind of silly question, but no, that's cool. I guess Roland, being the outdoorsy type, would probably just typically eat like nuts and berries and shit, but no, he liked his bar food, so he'd be constantly hungover. He'd be
Nuts and berries and shit.
yes, especially
Oh my.
especially and shit. No, but no, greasy breakfast foods, eggs, bacon, ham, sausage, potatoes. You know, the classics, the classic diner fare. Paige would probably be pretty similar too. I mean, that's sort of the halfling MO. You know, that and second breakfast and all that stuff, so. And let's face it, that's the sort of thing I like to eat too. Although there is this place by my house that has these amazing breakfast sandwiches, and that's a go-to.
Well, Onyx was not really very picky on what he ate for breakfast. He normally really enjoyed what leftovers he got from Robbie John's little breakfast gnome. So whatever he could get, and lots of, because he ate a lot, would be his. Izzy had other stuff, but now his favorite is spiders. Now that he made up his Crunch-a-Bunch, he likes spiders, and he'll be eating spiders a lot now.
Fenilius was... he spent far too much time writing or reading, and was kind of distracted, so He rarely remembered to eat breakfast. He didn't really have a favorite. Aramolian, fruit and meats and cheese. Kind of a European thing. Me, Rick, probably I've not that long ago moved down to the southern United States and have discovered they do breakfast burritos different down here than I'm used to back in Michigan. And breakfast burritos, I think, are my favorite breakfast now.
And for myself, I love French toast and omelets.
Oh, love a good omelet.
And breakfast burritos are amazing. Come on, Saul, speak up. We're all gonna bully the guy that's not here.
I eat whatever the queen tells me to eat.
Oh, too soon, too soon. Anyhow, I'll bring that map.
Yeah. What me personally, I'm looking forward to in this campaign is seeing what down here looks like. You know, when something that came to Onyx's mind of, freeing his people and finding a place for them, ends up, it got a lot bigger than I had originally thought it was going to be. So I can't wait to see what's happened after all these years.
Yeah, a whole big empire, basically. I'm curious how it turned out, too.
Onyx was very anti-slavery. So anybody who wanted freedom there is like, hey, come on over. He wasn't very picky. He'd let those rat folk in there as long as they did their duties and didn't do anything bad.
Yeah. And there are a couple places that are missing from the map that sort of stand out. And one would be like the Elven Kingdoms. I'm pretty sure those were by the mountains and north of Centervale. But that could beg the question of, is this a current map and maybe the Elven Kingdoms don't exist there any longer? Or, maybe it's just the map as we know it. Like, we have to fill in the blanks still.
They are on there.
Are they? Is that?
Yeah, north of the mountains, Anticosin and Stromboom.
Oh, see,
Those were the two. I believe they're this close together now because I think they've united into one large elven kingdom.
You see, I was thinking that was a big swampy region.
It's dark green for forest.
I see it. It's summer.
Yeah.
Okay. So they were actually past the mountains.
Yep.
Okay. But still, like, there's a lot of open space on this map, and I'm hoping that, like, it is kind of fill in the blanks as we discover and encounter new areas.
The reason Elven Kingdom seems so close is they were a hop, skip, and a jump away. Just hop and skip inside that portal and here over there.
Well, I thought they were like already close. Like if I remember correctly, it was kind of hourglass shaped, the two elven kingdoms.
Yeah. It didn't, when we traveled there once, early in campaign 1, we traveled from one to the other on a wagon. It was just a matter of a couple hours, I think.
Yeah, and like there is like a central kind of hub. Yeah, that is something I'm looking forward to possibly doing, is revisiting, other areas from campaign 1 and see, just see how everything's grown. Like, I'm sure the elves probably won't really be that much different because, like, they're pretty timeless, like, in general. So
If it's only been 1,000 years, then many of those elves would still be alive and living there.
Yeah, Princess Lunemi.
Wait, are the elves just getting their, like, Gen Z right now? Because don't they only live for, like, 1,000 years? Okay, only. You know what I mean? But, like, wouldn't they be at, like, the start of a new generation, probably? But they don't have that many generations.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about like how the elven kingdoms might have changed in 1,000 years, but then realized that doesn't sound right because, elves don't really change.
But I could see us, even if we didn't meet probably Queen Lunemi, but hearing about the Queen, hearing about what her and her spouse have done, and maybe hearing about, I don't know, what their kids are up to or grandkids.
Yeah, probably kids. One of her kids could be the king or queen.
Yeah, and on that note, like...
And we're gonna kill him.
Well, on that, I wonder how well known like our campaign 1 characters are. I mean, we saved the world, but that was 1,000 years ago. If, like, just think about like a modern day history class and learn about stuff from the year 1000. There's not really a whole lot there.
Well, I don't actually know when
that I know of.
Basil, at least, would actually like properly perish, because he got turned into a undead, and I don't think I know exactly how long that he sort of stays in that form for. So
yeah, and Roland is an archdruid, is probably alive.
Do they not age?
Well, Roland is a half elf, so he would die at a much earlier age.
I meant druids.
But yeah, they've got that timeless body thing.
Oh, is it they age slower?
They age very slowly, like 1 year for every 10 or something like that.
I see. Also, Kat told me to rush back because she asked a question. What was Kat's question?
So Kat's question was, what do your characters normally eat for breakfast? What do each of your characters from both campaigns like to eat for breakfast? So what does Basil, and then what about Wallace? And then also, what do you yourself, Spud, like to eat for breakfast?
Well, I like souls of the innocent, preferably.
That checks out.
I don't know. I just eat whatever's in the cupboard for breakfast. I like I like the chocolatey cereal. The what's it? It's called Crave. I don't know if it's called that in America. I don't know if you guys even have it in America. You probably do.
I've heard of that.
It's like, yeah, it's like wheat, like squares filled with chocolate. It's so good. It's so good. And like good milk. Good milk. Yes. Basil, I don't know, something healthy. Whole grain, I don't know. Just a slice of unbuttered whole grain bread And
With
that's
lots
it.
of herbs and spices.
Exactly.
11 of them.
11. And that's the order's number one sandwich. I don't know. Yeah, probably something really healthy and lame for Basil. Wally, I mean, I don't know what is like a half elven
I mean,
delicacy.
yeah, spider breakfast don't count.
What the heck? I
Why
love
not?
spider breakfast.
That's not what Wallace would typically eat for breakfast. He was kind of forced
That's true. That's true. Arachnotui is not his favorite. Wally probably likes like we would call it like a full English. He likes a bit of everything. A hearty breakfast.
Egg, sausage, bacon, hash browns.
You know,
Yeah.
I missed a golden opportunity to go and grab my Heroes Feast cookbook and just read something out of there.
Hell yeah. I imagine Wally's favorite meat is like basilisk or something. Something exotic. And expensive. I like playing characters with expensive taste. Bougie, even. Oof. Sorry, I just cracked my neck. It messed me up. Yeah, those are my breakfasts. So a slice of a whole grain and something expensive, probably like a full English.
Okay, and then we were discussing, is there any place on the map that you, as a player, are eager to revisit as with this new character?
I like the idea of, I want to see down here. I want to go there. I think that'd be fun. I would like to see the swamp because I just like swamps. I think they're cool, and I want to see how far it's grown and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm curious about the swamp too, because I know that was kind of Roland's thing, but as far as I knew, it was only a small portion of this swamp, and it was mostly otherwise the territory of that black dragon. So yeah, I'm kind of curious as to how Roland became the overarching force of this swamp.
Well, when you got married, you guys shared the property.
Roland didn't get married.
Yeah, to the Black Dragon.
Not yet.
Hey, if
Both my
Toasty Cat
hands
says it's
together.
canon, it's canon.
Oh yeah, she does have final say. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I think also visiting places that were most affected by the cult in the past would be really fun.
Speaking of the cult, how Ricky used all of our exploits and all of our do-gooding from campaign 1, and then it's like made us feel like utter dirt. Are we doing the right thing? Are we killing the right people? Are we, doing the right? Are we doing right like we think we are? I loved that. Oh my goodness. Are we doing it right? Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the "are we the bad guys" moment. I mean,
Mhm.
Vanillius never thought that, but it was pretty interesting.
I feel like I wrote notes about what Basil thought. And I feel like maybe I could find them. No, wait, there were physical ones. Never mind, I'm never finding those notes. Never mind. I have no idea what Basil thought.
Well, I know that Onyx didn't think he was doing anything bad because, well, he did what his friends said you should do, and they're not wrong.
And as for Roland, I mean, he just kind of... He was always just sort of like Cornelia, it's kind of just like observing things, not taking notes at all, but just being mindful of his surroundings. As for, can't really say much about Matsu because I didn't even make him. I never really got to really dig into that character in combat or roleplay or otherwise. But
I remember I was confused when Matsu showed up because I had missed the session when Matsu appeared, and then suddenly you were there, and I was like, I was very confused.
I just felt it was appropriate for Roland having that near-death experience, or actually dying and then being brought back.
Take a break.
Yeah, that can really affect somebody.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting it to play out like it did. And then when Ricky pulled that bullshit with fake Roland.
That was awesome.
Alright, screw all you guys. But yeah. He just really likes to fuck with me.
He does. As any good DM should.
Well, I can't wait to hear what he has to say after he watches this.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see the places that we'll go this campaign, what things we do. I'm excited to just find out like what it is we're gonna be mainly doing. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm kind of hoping it's not one of those, like, you know, an overarching quest, at least not to begin with. Yeah. We want to, like Ricky was saying, like, we're going to have, like, downtime things and be able to kind of really explore. So I'm kind of hoping to really see where, you know, what else lies in this world.
Bards lie.
I'm not sure I like your tone. But no. I am curious about these dragon tier lakes. Like I said, that looks like a place where it could be the hometown area that I described for Paige.
And I'm actually excited to be playing somebody with some intelligence. You know, he's not, Izzy's not super smart, but he's doubled the intelligence of, he doubled the intelligence of how I was playing him. The dice rolled a little bit higher, but I was playing him as like a 6 intelligence. So, you know, so he's double that, so he's a smart one.
Very nice.
So, one thing I want to ask you guys, and the listeners can answer in on this. So, last episode, Izzy was telling everybody, "Do you know who I am?" And then actually told Cletus, "You know who I am." Any kind of clues?
So I did hear that, but I was more keyed in on, I don't remember what exactly you said, but it alludes to you missing something or trying to obtain something you lost.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of stuff and he's trying to get it back.
It seemed like a specific thing, though? You don't have to answer.
Well, because he mentioned in episode 3 an item, and that item actually was used in Aramolian's thing, and then he was told to give it to Izzy. Izzy don't know this, but I was asking, Ricky if that particular item was there, just because he was told to give it to me, so I was hoping it was going to be around somewhere.
The town in the jar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, Paige hasn't had fun stuff pop up yet, so can't really speculate much on that. I am curious to see how the combat, like, yeah, Daramolian being an acolyte, like, basically gonna be, are you gonna be our cheerleader?
Yeah, probably.
No, Aramolian's
I'm
our
not
talent
sure what
scout
else
for the Great Sage.
Yeah. I'm going to be in between combats. I'm going to be trying to convert you all to followers of the Great
What do
Sage,
you mean
of course.
between combats? Like it's gonna stop during combat? Okay.
I mean, probably.
If you followed the Great Sage, you would have hit that swing.
I noticed a couple things about Aramolian that I think are very make them very interesting. Obviously, the Great Sage is very kind to give Aramolian all these blessings at the precise moment that he needs them, so that's great.
I mean, he hasn't failed me yet, but that time might come.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how this first group combat goes. I'm super ready for us all to just wipe, by the way. I think that'd be really funny.
I would be sad if we wiped without getting to know more about our characters.
True.
Very true.
Well, if that happens, we'll just have to do a reveal episode where we talk about what they could have been.
Yeah, what could have been, exactly.
Alright, so that sounds like next week is episode 6, followed by episode 2 of Behind the Veil, talking about our dead characters the following week.
Hey, no, not that fast.
But it depends. Any of us could turn on each other at any moment.
I need more spiders, so I'm good.
True. Yeah, I am excited too. I feel like at level 3 is when at least every character sort of comes into their, literally comes into their archetype, and sort of gets their like baseline abilities that sort of represent who they are, kind of.
Yeah, speaking of that, I was actually going to ask, has excuse me, has anybody given any thought to what subclass they're going to be going with? Like, as far as, like, have you given any thought to, like, how you're going to be building your character, or are you just going to try to let it go organically? And I guess for Aramolian, like, do you think that Aramolian will at any point ever gain like an actual class or level or something like that?
Assuming Aramolian lives long enough and doesn't complete his mission, I mean, I don't know how he wouldn't gain experience and gain skills. I'm not sure what that is yet. I mean, I know what it is, but
He
Yeah.
can get all mad that the teachings are failing him when he knows that it shouldn't be failing him, and he can become a barbarian alkaloid.
So,
Barbaramolian.
that could be fun. I always, any character I start playing in a campaign, I have planned out to level 20. Now, I always leave it open to adjustment if the campaign kind of pushes me a direction I wasn't expecting. But I always have a character planned out to level 20. Building the characters is part of what I find enjoyable about D&D.
I feel a very similar way.
nice. So you do have like a character levels in mind for Aramolian once you get to that point. If you get to that point.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm not going to ask you to get into that because we don't want to ruin the reveal. I'll be perfectly honest. As far as Paige is concerned, I have no idea where he's going to be going. Paige gets his subclass at level 3. There's like 6 or 7 of them here at my immediate disposal. And I have no idea which way I'm gonna go. Like, I think I was looking at it before, and there's something that kind of fits with the whole, like, his author type theme, so I'll have to go back and look at it, but
Yeah, I mean, I would just thinking of stuff like, like the lore bard, would be, to me, would fit a author type thing, gathering all the lore.
yeah, but I think I remember something about the College of Eloquence, and
Eloquence is my favorite bard.
I think that would be fitting of Paige being the author type as well.
And that one could definitely work.
The only downside is I'm pretty sure that's the Bard College that Sam Riegel played on EXU Calamity. Because as I was reading through it, it like totally fits with his character that he had there.
I mean, it's very fun. I've played one. They're very fun.
Which
The not being able to roll below a certain number thing is really fun.
but that's part of what threw me away from the first character I was going to play, because there's other critical role ties to that one. It's like, I'm not trying to copy fucking critical role. You just have some good ideas at times. But I'll figure out what to do with Paige. But I can't really plan out like that unless like I have something in mind that I want to do. Otherwise, like with these characters, I try to let it be more of like an organic thing, and like I don't have like any multi-classes planned out, but I'm open to it if the story makes it relevant.
I really like that you're doing it that way. I've never. I'm trying to think back all the years. I don't think I've ever done that, and maybe that would be an interesting thing. Maybe that's what I'll do with. I mean, I have a plan for Aramolian right now, but like I said, I'm leaving it flexible. So maybe Aramolian will just kind of evolve as the campaign does.
Right, like what if Aramolian finds himself with a sword in his hands, and now all of a sudden he's taken like the path of a fighter, and that was nothing to the furthest thing that from your plan.
He pulls a sword from a stone and becomes a king of someplace.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool. I mean, in C1, I never intended for Basil to become a cleric, but it was like one of the things that was, I guess, on the radar, like as a possibility. And then Peace Cleric came out, and it just made a lot of sense for Basil. And I sort of realized that the higher level monk features aren't that important. So it was nice to. I mean, that was one of the first times that I feel like I let this story lead where my character went, because I prefer building the character in a certain way typically. But again, Basil was kind of a weird character for me. There was a lot of things about Basil that I don't usually do. Which is weird because he was supposed to be a very simple character, but he was actually quite out of my comfort zone.
And I kind of wanted to multi-class Roland. I didn't have a plan for a multi-class. I was just like, you know, kind of always played with the idea, but I didn't really want to because, you know, I wanted to hit that Archdruid.
Yeah. I mean, I get a lot of like joy from weird multi-classes that like let you make things that can't exist in like a single class. But you need to do a lot of planning for those.
Yeah, I typically like to stay a single class, but every now and then a multi-class is fun. Like Sue from the last campaign. That was
like a build.
Yeah, that was a build.
A 7,000 class.
Yeah.
The stuff like that is really fun. Especially like, I've only played a couple of multi-class characters like that, but there is something about like, I don't like feeling like I can't contribute a lot. So there is something enjoyable about being kind of underpowered because of the jank stuff that you've done with your multi-class, but then hitting the level where your build comes online and suddenly feeling like you get to make a really big impact.
Yeah. That's kind of how I build all my characters anyway. I come up with something that I want to do, and if I can't do it with a single class, then I start looking at multi-class options.
Yeah.
With Onyx, I did not plan for him to be a grappler, but whenever he got his immovable rod, he's like,
it just
all
happened.
right, yep. Especially with, okay, you're gonna have to grapple him before you could do this stuff. Okay, well, I'm gonna take the grapple. So then, yeah, I loved that immovable rod.
It did remind me of a thing. Is like I don't usually like if I play a class, I'll usually try and play a pretty like not powerful version of it, but a pretty competent version of it. And I don't think that the way of 4 Elements Monk is very good. But I did enjoy that a lot. So that was nice, like seeing something that I would never usually play. And finding out it wasn't that bad. I mean, I don't think Monk as a whole is an amazing class, but it is very flavorful and fun. And I had a lot of fun playing Basil.
Yeah, I appreciated that about you and Basil. Actually, you're doing it with Wally again. This is the second campaign that you're playing what many people would consider less an optimal class.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I do genuinely think Ranger's
Basil.
a good class, though.
Yeah, I thought Basil was great. I liked him.
I mean, yeah, the thing about monks is like you could play them in a way that like, but the thing I didn't use my subclass features very often.
No,
right?
not hardly ever.
Because it was 9 times out of 10 it was just better to just try and stun something, which I didn't mind, but I did like because I liked that he was just a character that could do these things, and I ended up taking abilities that are a little bit more like what the heck, I don't know how to describe it, like utility, like the ice stuff and flight rather than necessarily combat oriented. I think I took one combat spell at when he was level 17 because they're just not that useful with the amount of damage you can do with them and stuff. But I did enjoy doing the stunning strikes and ruining Ricky's encounters like that if I got lucky. I did notice as we got higher and higher, he started throwing more and more dragons at us that have really like Constitution saving throws, but he still got really unlucky sometimes. I mean, that's the thing about monk is I feel like the monks have a really weird reputation because DMs hate them, but I don't think they're considered super powerful. But I mean, I was surprised at how effective it did feel playing with Basil. So I'll give them that. Basil was very fun to play.
I seem to remember, and of course it could just be, the games I was playing in, but like the second and third edition monks, I think were a little bit more powerful than they are in the 5e.
I have no idea about those monks. I've never seen anything about them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I skipped the worst monk levels because I started playing Basil at level 5, even though you guys have been playing for longer. And I think level 1 for monks is really good. Level 2 is pretty good. And then it gets kind of bad for a little bit. But Stunning Strike is a really good ability. Probably the best ability. But I don't know anything about those old monks. I'm assuming they just hit people a lot or something.
Yeah, and it's a lot of similar stuff. It's just I could be remembering them completely wrong, but
I mean,
enjoyed
monks can be
playing
good.
monks back in the day.
Yeah, it's just they're a little bit. It did help because Ricky was very generous with short rest, so that helped a lot.
And similarly, that's one of the reasons I decided to go with Bard for Paige. Not because it's a typically underrated character class, but because I wanted to play a support character. And I guess Roland was more of a support character until, he would get, tanky in animal form.
Roland was a moon druid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just couldn't remember.
And so, the spells that I've got set up for Paige are more, I don't want to say utilitarian, but there's some of that, but I'm thinking more of crowd control.
Yeah, I mean, I love those kind of spells. Those are my favorite kind of spells in D&D.
Yeah, because in melee combat, anybody who watched or listened to episode 1 of campaign 2 would know that Paige is not very good in melee combat. But if he's able to back up and has some support around, he's never going to do well one-on-one in a fight. Maybe at a higher level, I don't know. We'll see how bards play out, but at least for the time being, he's definitely going to need his friends.
Yeah, I like the support. Well, that's what Fenilius was. I had Firebolt, but we were maybe double-digit levels before I had an offensive spell.
Fenilius was the Firebolt master.
True.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, those kind of casters are, I think, the most. Personally, the most fun. I also kind of think they're probably the strongest. I just kind of think, just the way the game is designed, they end up being the best.
Fenilius ended up being the most powerful character I've ever played.
Yeah, level 20 wizard is insane.
And it was even better. What made it even better about being the Firebolt master is there was an evocation wizard in the party. Fenilius was still the Firebolt master.
Well, David was doing one of those build characters, right?
Yeah.
Because he had a very specific build in mind.
Well, his was he doesn't have any spells that don't affect hit points.
But he had I don't remember what his combo was. It was the action surge thing.
Yeah, he had fighter. Yep.
Yeah. That was it. Which is fun.
So, what I am just now realizing, I think I might have realized a little bit before, but it just really kicked me in the head right now. So we have Paige, which is support. We have our Alkalite, which will be over there going rah rah, kick them in the head.
Oh my god, Lady Gaga?
And then we have our ranger shooting from afar. And then we have our mage, dead dude. And then
Is he a
we have a
mage?
rogue.
I don't actually know what class David is.
So we have a rogue.
Pretty
Oh.
sure he's
Yeah,
a
rogues are
wizard.
great frontliners.
So
Which that reminds me one thing about David's character, like, so he mentioned, yeah, because we were talking about, like, you know, how we came up with our character ideas, and at the end of last week's stream, David did mention his inspiration for Robert, and that was a skeleton with a headband of intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, is Robert a zombie with a headband of intellect, and what would happen to his character if that got removed?
Yeah. Maybe it's like a ring. You can't take it off as easily. A ring of intellect.
It's probably like a permanent enchantment from Gravine.
Yeah. And we don't know. Maybe he's gonna be a melee wizard. Think about that. Also, I kind of don't think you need a front line in D&D 5e.
when you have a rogue whose big thing is
You'll have. I was thinking about the fact that we have a rogue, and you'll have sneak attack. You'll be fine.
okay. Yeah, if nobody's up there, it's gonna be kind of hard.
I mean,
Oh,
if you go swashbuckler,
And I'm not. I've already have what I'm gonna be, and it's not swashbuckler.
Like, we were talking about subclasses, and I don't mind saying what my subclass will be, but I feel like I'm not supposed to spoil it, so I won't. I think Kat knows what my subclass is, so, or what it will be. And I guess it's been spoken about. But Wallace is not an optimized character at all. Not just because he's a ranger. You can make very good optimized rangers, but I just didn't want to. Because I wanted to play this specific subclass, which, you know, it's not the best one, but I think it's still really good. I think it's still really fun. I'm looking forward to that. So I think you'll be okay with, like, your sneak attacks and stuff.
yeah, and you know what, we can decide right now that the first one of us to die, have our first character death, our comeback character is going to be some kind of a tank.
So,
Just like in the Dungeon of the Mad Mage game, where we're going. I don't know if you guys know, the people not playing, but like we don't have a healer in our party.
you don't need a healer.
Oh,
It
okay.
helps.
I mean, we don't really have potions either. Chelsea got one.
We finally got one at the end of this last
Yeah,
episode.
finally got one.
I mean, I've been considering, like, having Wally eventually take one level of life cleric, just so I can give people the strong good berries. The good berries, you know what I mean?
Well,
The good berries with the secret ingredient.
yeah. Otherwise,
We learned that from the monks.
Exactly,
not
exactly.
overly worried
You
about.
don't eat these berries, you smoke them.
Yeah, you smoke these berries. No, no, we're the healer isn't the thing that we're down. We don't have a dedicated healer here, but we have at least. I know I've got a little bit of healing. I
Yeah.
think you have healing, Saul.
I have my good berries.
Yeah, so you know we do have some sort of a healing resource. To
I mean,
at
we don't
least
have a
some-
Rajan, which is gonna hurt, but you know.
Yeah. But
It is what it is.
you know,
Maybe we'll get lucky and the Great Sage will grant me some healing powers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
well, you see, that's kind of like the initial direction I thought you might be going. Either that or like wizard, because acolyte that just kind of screams like either like bookish or sagey or you know,
More like the Great Sage. Great Sagey.
cleric, wizard, that sort of thing. But I didn't think you'd go wizard again since you just, finished a wizard. So, like, I always thought that cleric, healer, something like that. I mean, you could even be like divine soul sorcerer, But I could see you going that route. That's just my opinion. That's my speculation.
Yeah. Well, it can't be Divine Soul Sorcerer, because I think if Aramolian had magic, he would have known it by now.
Yeah, true. And as we know, Aramolian has no magic.
No, it could be
That's
like
right.
it could be like X-Men, where you don't get your power until like you're older.
Oh, maybe.
It awakens inside of you.
Yeah, I'm excited for seeing how everyone's characters develop and stuff.
Okay, so question about that: if it did do it whenever you turn a certain age, Aramolian is over 200 years old.
No, like, I mean, his story spans 200 years. I don't think that actually affect. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. It's timey-wimey bullshit, but
Have we been told what Aramolian's race is?
He looks like 100-and-something-year-old high elf.
I see.
But high elves are hard to judge ages definitively.
Yeah, because their eyes are squinty and they're always saying, dude.
yeah.
Nah.
And I'm looking at Paige's character
Pick up the
sheet
good
now,
berries.
and I've got high enough ability scores where I'd be able to do some multi-class things if that felt like a thing.
Yeah.
I think that was the other thing with Roland, is like he had high enough ability scores to do certain things, but nothing that would have made sense.
Oh yeah, I getcha. I getcha.
Druid is the one class with a capstone it's worth going for.
Yeah. Lewis, did you talk about, is he like your, if you have like a plan for him?
I have a basic plan. I know pretty much up to like level 6. So I know, what my archetype is going to be, and I know a few other things I'm taking, and probably I could say 8. But yeah, I don't have the full Monty. Because like you, I am because with Onyx I had them planned all the way out, and then because I put on my character sheet, okay, at this level I'm going to take this, at this level I'm going to take this, and then with the way things happened, I was like, well, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this now. So I pretty much have what I want to do up to like 8, and then I'm going to let the story flow me from there.
Yeah, that's always fun.
Well, there's times whenever I really want to like go ahead and take 2 levels of fighter just so I could get an action surge and do more damage or something, but I'm like, eh.
So, were there, over the past 5 episodes now, and I guess really just the last episode, because that's the only one where we were technically all together, do you have like anything you would have done different, anything you would have changed? for me, for Paige, like I mentioned earlier, like I think I kind of misplayed him after being reunited with Cletus, because even though he was angry with him, Paige should have still been like friendly and hospitable. At least that's how I designed him. Uh, and yeah, I regret not eating the fish, but you know what? It all worked out in the long run.
I so wasn't going to eat it. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And with Aramolian being there, but not being there in person type
Yeah.
thing.
I was sending Ricky messages, but yeah.
You know, I wasn't, because I saw your health bar and I saw it was full, so I thought he just knocked you unconscious. You still had all your health. I'm like, if it's going to do something, nobody's going to notice anything. So I'm like, all right, if nobody else is going to do it, and he's asking this question multiple times, and if I learn, if a DM goes, "Are you sure you want to do that?" A lot of times you should go, "Wait a second, do I really want to do that?" So I was like, I'm gonna bite on that lure. I'm gonna see what happens. I'm just glad I did.
Yeah, if I had sent Ricky the message that so far Aramolian's on a mission, and he believes that the Great Sage is guiding him to wherever he needs to be to do his mission. So wherever I'm at, I just assume that's where the Great Sage has me, and if somebody who is supposed to be a friend of the Great Sage offers something, I'm taking it.
That makes 100%. It makes so much sense for you to take it, because you guys got along great in your episode.
Oh yeah, you had that connection. He didn't try to lock you in a tower and leave you for dead.
Yeah.
But I also love this whole aspect of, hey, I'm here for a reason. So, he ends up in a bed of fire ants. I'm here for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't he like with whoever we have to fight in the next episode?
No, Cletus?
I thought he came back and was with them at the end.
No, he was with the lady. I don't remember her name, but it's in my notes.
Right, with the lady. So, we don't have to fight
The
her.
the lady wants us to fight this clown.
Oh right, the clown. Oh god, the clowns. That's gonna be I hope Ricky has a fun, like a fun battle map, like with environmental shit on that. That'd be interesting.
We don't. The puke clown isn't enough for you?
I mean, he could, this is the first real combat of the campaign, so you should try to, maybe dress it up a little bit, because I mean,
You'll earn that.
This is basically yes, we've all met as part of the chain gang, but this is our first real combat experience together.
Is that a party name?
The Chain Gang.
Or
we could be the Chain.
Just as long as we're not wipe or whatever the heck you were coming up with.
You don't like wiper?
Wiper, no wiping.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's the problem with wiper.
Right.
But one thing that I thought about with talking about all this stuff in the clowns, Saul, in our campaign, you were hearing this little girl voice, and then you saw that little teddy bear. And then there was a potion there.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I was thirsty. I'm gonna drink. I mean, I will say, I didn't not do a cost-benefit analysis of the situation in my head. And it just turned out that made the most sense to do to ensure my survival. You know?
Yeah.
It would have to be done.
You know, it's just
There we go. Quote number 2. Any friend of the great sage is a friend of Aramolian.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
We need to add more quotes.
I'm so bad at picking up on quotes, though.
Yours are usually the best.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh,
You just
That's
listen
okay.
back
Have
to
any
campaign 1.
I guess Deep Fried McFairies is a quote.
Yeah, episode 1's title is all you, buddy. Episode 1 of
Hell yeah.
campaign 1.
My favorite is still the sad toddler one.
Oh,
I'll have to be
that's
my
the
favorite.
best. I have thought about adding it, but it's not a campaign 2 quote.
It's true. We have to. One of the NPCs has to say it. So we can put it back.
What if Paige said it? Oi, I don't give a fuck about that sad toddler.
It's very British. It's very appropriate.
Yeah, my accent is just gonna get worse as this campaign goes on.
I've described my accent as someone trying, not as an Irish accent, but someone trying to do an Irish accent. That's my accent.
and you could actually use that quote talking about Izzy, because he's smaller than most toddlers.
True.
Okay, so that's it. I have to get Izzy sad and not give a fuck about him.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, looks like we just lost Rick.
Uh-oh. Where'd he go?
His computer decided to go to sleep.
Okay, so he's working
Without
on
him.
coming back.
Yeah, without him wanting it to go to sleep.
Sort of turns my computer off sometimes. Very rude.
Yeah.
So have you ever caught syrup on your computer when you walk in a room and then
Well, she has D&D on Wednesdays, so...
watching something and then turning around and like, oops, I'm not doing anything, and then finding cat porn or something on
No, she's trying to get me put on a list. She's looking up tabaxi images.
there?
There's a thing. I don't usually play unusual races in D&D. So, Wallace is a half wood elf. I think he's mark of detection. Whatever, he's one of the mark things. I have such a bad memory. Whatever. And
For
Basil
such a
was
young
human.
lad.
Yeah, Basil was a human. I think my most played race though is probably like tiefling, which is very, what's the word? I don't want to say like generic, but
Cliche.
for members of the alphabet mafia. And Genasi. I really like Genasi. I don't remember who. I think that's pretty much all the races I played. It's human, half-elf, tiefling, genasi, just those 4 over and over again.
Goblin.
And occasionally a warforged thrown in there.
Goblin.
Oh, goblins! Goblins are the weirdest race I play. That's not very weird.
You do kobolds.
Do I have a kobold?
Gutter snake.
Oh, Gutter Snake's a... Oh, I always forget that kobolds and goblins are the same thing. Well, is that racist?
Wow.
Am I racist to kobolds and goblins? I forgot Gutter Snake. Yeah, he's fun. I remember people being mad at Gutter Snake because he's a coward. That was fun. forgot about that guy. Is he Australian? Or, well, an approximation of Australian.
Probably.
I forgot about Gutter Snake.
I like playing all the weird ones. I mean, I've played a lot of different ones.
Mm.
I'm actually looking forward to the Kindred coming back because I used to love playing the Kindred.
The what?
The Kender, the Dragonlance equivalent of the Halfling.
Oh. Oh. They remind me of the dudes from Magic the Gathering.
So the Kender are much more hands-on. They borrow things.
Oh.
Yes.
They're little borrowers.
Yes, without asking.
Yeah.
They, and if you tell them they stole stuff, they get upset because they're not thieves.
They're borrowers.
They get offended. I mean, wouldn't you?
I mean, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, I'm one of the reasons why a lot of the DMs hated Kinders.
Why?
But whenever I played them, I was young, so that's my defense. Kinders are brave. Kinders are not afraid of anything, at least back in the old school days. You can go up to a dragon, everybody else is feared. The Kinder's not. He'll walk right on up to him. So I would do stuff like everybody's trying to figure out their plan. I would be the one that would walk up to the dragon and go, "Hey, we're about ready to take your stuff, so, you have any last words?"
No.
So I would ruin surprises on, from stuff, and,
I just looked up the Kender, and the video that came up is called "Why Are Kender the Most Annoying Race in D&D?"
And that's basically what I just said.
Yeah, so it wasn't so much that your DM hated you, it was the rest of the table.
Well, both. The rest of the table and the DMs. But yeah, I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but once I keep on saying, why Kinders are hated, I'm like, I did all of that. I'm like, oops. But I've grown a lot since those gaming days. Back in the 1980s.
Oh,
Back in ancient times.
what the heck? Hey, sir.
In 1990-ish, I had a computer, didn't have a hard drive in it. It just used a floppy disk.
Oh.
And I played me some Dungeons and Dragons on that, and I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and something I'm going to be playing around with is DM-less D&D. I found this thing on DM's Guild called the Solo Adventurers Toolbox, where you can basically play sort of against yourself. There's all these different tables that you can roll against to determine if encounters happen, when they would happen, determine the environment, what's in a room, what do you find is there loot, literally everything. It even offers monster tactics for the combats and combat encounters set for one PC with a conversion table for a 2 PC game. So it's it's designed basically for the forever DMs who never get to play it. Yeah, the guys who never get to play D&D, who always have to DM D&D, it kind of makes it so that they can be a player. And, aside from that, too, it works really well as just an encounter building tool with all the different tables in there. Even just setting up an area, because with the tables that fill the room, so to speak, you can use that to sort of guide an adventure. But I'm thinking about doing that on nights when, like, if we can't get the whole group
Can't
together,
wrestle enough
yeah.
people, yeah.
Can't get everybody together on a Monday, or if Lewis is unavailable on Friday for Swashbuckler series, or when
Yes, okay.
inevitably on a Sunday we're going to end up having to cancel the game
Mhm.
just so that the stream must go on.
That did actually remind me to talk of other games. I didn't know, this is like kind of unrelated, pretty unrelated, whatever. I didn't know that the Chiss existed in Star Wars, but now I think they're really cool. I just wanted to throw that in there. I didn't know that they existed before I played them, but I think they're really cool now.
Oh yeah, I was all ready for Star Wars.
Well, for somebody
Smurfs.
who don't even know what Star Wars was before we started playing, because you're so young and you're going, what?
I mean, I've seen some of the Star Wars movies. I really liked Rogue One. That's my favorite Star Wars movie.
But man, I had Shola's intro all ready for tonight.
Oh, yeah, we have to do intros. Gosh.
Yeah, Shola goes up and like tries to outdo everybody, so
What the heck? I remember Shola's intro before was really good.
yeah, so you need to do something and outdo Shola.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. A backflip. And you guys just have to believe that I did it. Just trust me, bro. Yeah. Chiss are cool.
Sure.
I don't know much about them still, but I think they're cool.
Yeah, it's a sweet backflip.
Yeah. I think my like most interesting way I've ever played D&D was, I don't know if you guys know about Tabletop Simulator.
Yes, I've heard of it.
I played a campaign on there and a couple sessions because it's VR compatible, so I played it in VR, and that was really fun because there was like a dungeon, and it was just fun like looking around the corners and stuff. Wasn't fun when they flipped the table while I was on it, but otherwise it was really cool.
That's one thing that I'm really, really looking forward to.
What?
VR D&D.
Yeah, it was really
where
sick.
you go up there and you set the stuff up, and then everybody gets up there, puts their VR on, and then you look to your left and you see nothing. Then you look down. Wait a second, there's a kobold there, and you look over this way and you see your party members there.
Yeah, it was great being able to measure what I could see just by looking.
Yeah. Can I
also,
get to
I
it?
realized I lied. I played a half-orc in that game. I realized I played a ton of half-orcs, so I'm just a liar.
You see, Cat's right.
What
He
did
told
Kat
us
say?
that.
I'm a liar?
Yeah.
What the heck? I would never say this. Yeah, that was a game that was run by my friend Justin, and it was fun because that session there was like a wrestling tournament, so I was just wrestling the air. Because I haven't played D&D in person. I think I played it once in person, and it was my first time playing ever. So it wasn't very good. all of my gaming D&D wise has been online, I think. I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't think I'm lying about that.
Well, one thing I gotta say is lies are not good, and no bullying Cat.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
can't be proved.
It can be proven because Cat told
It's
us.
her word versus mine, you know? Who do you trust?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Whoa.
The chat never lies.
Wow, okay. What if I...
What if you're the chat?
Yeah, what if I'm the chat?
Now Cat's
Well,
lying because the chat said.
No, this is slander. No, the credit. Credit? That's a whoop. Yeah.
But yeah, playing VR and then turning a corner, and all of a sudden, like seeing a dragon or some kind of
It's
horde
dope.
coming your way, and you're just basically freaking out, backing up, trying to get out the way, and trip and fall, and just I can't wait.
I haven't used my VR headset in a while, but it is very immersive.
Well, the only VR headsets I've ever used are those cheap ones that you used to put the phones in.
Mhm.
Were really popular a few years ago.
I think I had to try one of those at work.
And I got vertigo very easily with those.
It's very easy to get motion sickness. I got it really bad sometimes.
I was told
never
the
get motion
newer,
sickness.
the good ones like the Oculus and stuff like that, it's not as bad.
Yeah, because I haven't played them, but from videos you can tell it's super smooth and nice. But yeah, I think it'd be great to have like a D&D that, like, I don't know what the word would be, like I guess a VTT that works with VR would be really awesome.
Well, the new one D&D is not necessarily VR, but it's a lot more. If you haven't seen it yet, look up on the.
I've seen a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that right there looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Creating your character, seeing it right there, so it's going to be a lot more 3D-ish and really cool, and I can see that actually being able to easily be put into a VR.
Yeah, it's very cool. Future of D&D is very cool, I think. IMO. And I'm super excited for this game.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where this takes us. What happens when we finally get out of this mine and into...
If we get out of the mine.
I think we'll do it.
What if we just never make it to the Vale? We don't die, we just never get there.
Well, like, again, we're not anywhere near the Vale, though, right?
Well, we could be.
I like to think that we're actually all in an illusion, where this is a dream and we're just asleep in the Vale.
I would hope so, since we all found our dead bodies at the end of last episode.
Yeah, well, parallel universes, multiple timelines. I mean, we know multiple timelines technically do exist.
That's true. Abel kind of made that canon.
Exactly.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Rick?
I had stepped away for a second and I'm back.
Welcome back.
Anything you want to add about the campaigns? Anything?
I don't think so. I mean, it's early now, so it's hard to judge anything. I'm looking forward to getting this one going and seeing where it goes. I mean, I know a little bit about what is coming, kind of. So I know it isn't what we're expecting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
Whenever
like
you're a
frat.
sounding board for somebody, and then they go, "Oh wait, I think I'm gonna do this." You're like, "But forget I said that." I'm like, what?
Does it have anything to do with Aramolian's mission?
No.
Oh.
Everything has to do with Aramolian's mission.
True.
Well, then the answer is yes, because that's everything, or part of everything. Well, this was fun. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice hanging out.
Yep, I
I'm
can't
looking
wait.
forward to when we can play again.
Yeah, well, we should be back on for next week.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, the thing is Ricky's on call like one day a month, or one Monday a month, or something like that.
Hmm.
And so today just happened to be that Monday.
Yeah. Unlucky, but it happens.
Yep. But you know,
It is what it is.
and we're prepared for it. So don't worry, viewers. We will not let you down. There will be a stream when we say there's going to be a stream. We'll always have some kind of content for you.
And you'll be here whether you like it or not.
That's right. You better.
Yep.
You got to be here.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Or else Sir gets
it. Or Sir. Oh. He's threatening Sir. Oh no.
There's nothing I won't do for views.
Yeah, so on that note, don't forget to, sit in on our Friday and Sunday streams, and like I was saying too, I'm really thinking a lot about that Solo Adventurous Toolbox stuff, and I might even just run that like on a separate night.
Could be fun.
As what I was thinking. I might even run that, stream that on my own DM_Ron Twitch channel, because I've been thinking about doing some streams from there that were unrelated to Defenders of the Vale, so we'll see that. Oh shit. Oh no, I misread that. Toasty Cat slaps Spud. I misread that as Toasty Cat slaps Squad. I was like, oh shit, she just got us all.
Well, this isn't that much better for me.
That's true.
The fuck?
Thanks for taking one for the team.
What the heck? I guess.
Alright. It's been fun. Thanks for hanging out.
Well, we got something to eat for proper.
We're all nice. We try. So yeah, we'll bring us out, and thanks for joining us. And don't go away just yet, because we will raid out. So it's been fun.
I'm gonna leave my stream open.
Thank you. We love you, and good night.
Love y'all.
Good night.
Good night.